What is up, guys? I'm Ian, this is Brokenomics. Today I'm going to dig deep into Umee and give you the details of their upcoming token sale on coinlist. So let's get stuck in. What is Umee? Well, it's a cross-chain lending and borrowing DeFi hub, and the reason they see an opportunity here is in traditional finance, lending and borrowing markets are worth tens of trillions of dollars a year. In DeFi, we're already seeing, according to recent reports, that the lending and borrowing markets are worth tens of billions a year, with some of the bigger players like Aave and Maker having a total value locked of over $1 billion. But there's a problem here. Interoperability, accessing liquidity cross-chain. Anyone who's tried to do something like this or even transact cross-chain knows that it's a very awkward, cumbersome, costly, time-consuming and confusing process, and this is the problem that Umee are trying to solve with their product. So I'm going to take you through exactly how they're going to do that right now. And as we're getting into the nuts and bolts of the project, obviously the people involved are the nuts and bolts as well. So I want to shout out Karen Patel, who is an admin or community manager in the Telegram. Every time we're doing deep dive vids, we're trying to get involved in the community and talk to the people who understand the project, at a very high level because they've been involved with it for such a long time. Obviously, if that's something you appreciate, that level of research and work, please click like on the video. A lot of work goes into all our content, and click subscribe if you appreciate it too. But Karen's take on this is that the demand for cross-chain borrowing and lending is picking up the pace, considering it allows you to move value across the chains without restrictions and in a fair way. The bull on this market hasn't started to pick up, so maybe in that way, Umee are actually addressing a problem that doesn't quite exist yet, or a market that they see as growing, so a forward-looking project in that way. But right now, with a lot of liquidity locked on centralized exchanges earning nothing, he sees it as something that's going to change once there's a simplified user interface that allows cross-chain lending and borrowing solutions like Umee when it hits the market. So in terms of how they actually get this done, this level of interoperability and simplification, well, they're built using Cosmos, and Cosmos essentially allows different layer ones to both communicate and transact with each other, right? That's kind of a simplified explanation of what a layer zero is. And they do so using their fast finality consensus mechanism, which they call Tendermint. So, just gets the transactions done fast. In terms of the different blockchains that this actually opens up to Umee in terms of interoperability, well, we can see here, you've got Ethereum, you've got Solana, Polygon, Terra, Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, Crypto.com, Thorchain, Phantom, Akash, so many there, and this is really at the heart of what it is. It's opening up a new world of possibilities in DeFi. And to take you through exactly how the process works, there's a really handy diagram here. You deposit your asset, let's say on top here it's Ethereum. You receive your collateral token, which you can then use the gravity bridge to take across to Cosmos. You receive your bridged collateral token, and then you can borrow assets on Cosmos using that as the collateral. It also works the other way around. You deposit your asset on Cosmos, receive the collateral token, take your token on the gravity bridge over to Ethereum where it's an ERC20, and then use that ERC20 token to borrow assets on Ethereum. So, quite a nice simplified streamlined process here for interacting cross-chain using Ethereum and Cosmos as two examples. But obviously we know that the scope of this product is much larger than that with all the other blockchains that they have involved. In terms of the token utility, it's a proof of stake configuration, so it's obviously bonded to validators in order to verify transactions on the network. Also, it's kind of like your gas fee on the blockchain is paid in Umee, and the validators earn their rewards for validating the transactions in Umee tokens. And it's also used for protocol governance, so used to vote on configurations of the protocol, network upgrades, improving the functionality, etc. So first of all, in terms of the previous backing, well, they had a $6.3 million raise in June with some strong partners there, like you can see Polychain Capital as well as Alameda Research. But in this round, so there's 10 billion tokens in total, 13% were sold in the seed round. Now, if they raised $6.3 million for 13% of the tokens, that means that they were paying less than half a cent per token. And if I quickly pull up the sale details here, you can see that that's 12.5 times and 14.5 times what you're paying just kind of 5 months later in the ICO. I know the strategic round was closer to ICO prices, but that was only for 1% of the tokens. So in the ICO, they're raising 32 million for 5% of the tokens. This translates to a $640 million fully diluted valuation, whereas just 5 months ago, based on seed prices, the valuation was 48.4 million. Now, bear in mind on top of this, of course, always, you get seed investors who get tokens at a cheaper price. Strategic investors pay a bit more, and then when we get to the ICO, it's the highest price that pre-token generation event investors will pay. So that's normal enough. But usually, kind of to compensate for this and get the public more involved and on side, you get a much more favorable vesting schedule and token release schedule for the public round. Now, in the ICO, you're getting a 2-month lock, and then over 10 months or 12 months, all your tokens will be vested. The seed investors get a 6-month cliff and vest over 18 months. So yeah, for sure, it's an earlier release for the ICO, but not to a significant extent. The strategic round is fully unlocked after 12 months as well. So, not much of a difference there between them and the ICO. Even the teams start getting tokens after 6 months, which is really, quite unusual for a crypto project. Normally, we've seen lockups for team members of like 3-4 years before they start getting tokens. So yeah, in this tokenomics, you do have to say it's not particularly weighted towards the retail investor, and that's definitely something to watch out for. Also bear in mind that before you look at the community tokens, which I think are 46% of the tokens, all of the other 54%, it would appear, are going to be in circulation in just 3 years, on top of what looks like maybe half of the community tokens. So we'll be at 70 to 75% towards full dilution within just 3 years. Now, given that they're addressing a market that, kind of it doesn't really exist yet on the scale that they need it to be, they're going to be best placed to deal with it when it does appear, if it does appear. But, you could see potentially a lot of selling there as well. So if we look at the team, we have some super talented guys here. Brent, the founder, led strategy at Tendermint while setting up the strategic roadmap for partnerships with the Cosmos network. Prior to that, he was one of the first 30 employees at Consensus, and I saw an interview with them with Cryptocito, which I'll link in the description, where he said he was part of growing them from that tiny stage up to 1,200 employees, which is obviously a skill he's going to need to have with this as this project scales. With Alex, again, lead engineer in Umee core blockchain network. Prior to Umee, he was lead engineer at the Cosmos SDK, ecosystem contributor to Cosmos since the inception of the blockchain, primary contributor to the Tendermint core consensus protocol, specialized in peer-to-peer networks, base layer protocols, distributed systems, proof of stake, self-sovereign blockchain networks. Zach, again, another early employee in Consensus alongside Brent, researched and contributed to some of the core Ethereum scalability protocols such as TrueBit, state channels, and Plasma. And he also developed bridge protocols such as X-Ray, which is a precursor to POA networks like XDAI. So an incredibly, talented team here who have obviously put in a lot of work on the protocol with a huge amount of experience. So final thoughts on this one. A really clever product, well put together, solves a real problem, but perhaps solves a future problem, because I'm not sure the problem exists on the scale they need it to yet to justify that kind of level of investment in 32 million in the ICO and a fully diluted valuation of 64 million. Obviously for seed investors it's a different story, as they're getting in at kind of 6-7% of the price that the ICO investors are. It's got a really strong team behind it. These guys obviously have a vision for where the market is going to be. In that way, if they're right, it could be a slow burner that pays off eventually. But with things as they stand right now, and again, not financial advice, I'm just giving my opinion based on the valuation, the tokenomics, and the market information as I have it, I don't see this like being one that, like an IMX or whatever, that does a big number off the bat, especially not off that high valuation. One that I think it's fine, like on coinlist, depending on your investment strategy, to add a little bag of and leave there. Definitely not a pump and dump coin. This is something that is a long-term vision and should be invested in with a long-term view. I would say, guys, if you are still here, if you're still watching this video, please do leave us a like and a sub. We are working hard to try grow this community, and if you watch this far, you'll know how much work and effort went into this vid. So yeah, peace out. Check us out in Telegram as well if you want to have the chats about this or any other token sales, and I'll catch you guys soon. Nice one.